You can kill me, but you will never destroy me. It takes strength to resist the dark side.
Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
Are you kidding? Why the hell should I wait for you?
I know what it's like to try and rebuild a life. I had a bad day too, once.
If you're having nightmares, then welcome to the club. My name's Subaru Natsuki, and I am the Knight of Amelia.
Right now, all I can give you is just death.
It wasn't for you in particular.
You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
If you are feeling disheartened, that you are somehow not enough, set your heart ablaze.
Welcome, lovely ladies and gentlemen, to whatever this is going to be tonight. So the big topic, obviously, that I've got on the docket tonight is the idea of the whole sustainability of current anime manga industry. There are some questions that have been floating around, some quotes that have been kind of interesting in regards to that topic, but before we get to that, because that'll probably be one of the last things I go over, it'll probably be what I talk about the longest. There are plenty of other small things to get into, random subtopics to fill out the time. Just things I wanted to bring up because I could. Sorry, got something on my desk there. If you hear that in my mic, it's me not being able to resist the urge to fidget with something. So, this week has been, I don't know, all right, I guess. It's been weird because last week, right as I was going into the stream, Konosuba dropped its first episode for season 3, which was weird because I didn't think it was supposed to go live until April 10th, in another couple of days here. So I'm not sure what's up with that. As far as what I've watched this week, I haven't really had the time to watch anything. I've either been working on the free run video, doing a little bit of searching for topics and all of that, working on some other things in the back burner that I'll go over in sometime in the near future, or just straight up being addicted to playing Ark Survival Evolved, because that's a thing, because I enjoy that game. One of a few games that still give me some amount of pleasure to play. Monster Hunter's fun. Helldivers has been really fun. I've been playing more and more and more of that recently. And Ark Survival Evolved has been fun. I've been trying to fine-tune a bunch of the settings on that in order to, like, make it verifiably hard, but not, like, impossible, I guess I should say. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. On top of that, on top of all of that stuff, I may not have watched some stuff, but I have read some stuff. I decided, because I couldn't get into the anime for it, the animation style just wasn't for me, that I would try out the manga for the series The Way of the House Husband, because I've gotten a couple of recommendations for that based on, my tastes in comedy and all of that. And it's pretty good. It's fairly entertaining. The premise of it all is that the main character is a former Yakuza boss who quits the whole underworld life and decides he's going to get married and live a normal life. So he's pretty much at home doing all the chores, taking care of the house husband part. And the whole time he's getting up to all sorts of bullshit because he treats everything like it's like he's still in the Yakuza. So, like, a cockroach gets into the house and he calls it a hitman. I think the best part of it though is that both him and his wife are both equally um clown world, and that makes it very entertaining. But it's been a fun little manga to read. Another thing that just came recently, since I do a little bit of indie comic coverage and all of that stuff, is you could still hear me talking. Tyler Carpenter and Almer Cruz's The Cthulhu Murders. Now, this is a comic book. I have to be careful opening this page up because it is a bit NSFW, so this one seems safe. I can show that there. Basically, the kind of stuff you would expect from my taste in indie comics. It is a weird murder mystery noir comic with some boobies. With some boobies. Now, I flipped through it briefly to see if there was anything I could show on stream tonight because it showed up like today. And there's one scene in there that takes place in a strip club, pretty much. That is the whole reason that it's labeled NSFW, because there's a lot of detail on that one. But what else? What else is there to cover? Maybe I will just... Anyway, if you haven't seen it, this week I put out a video talking about why I think Frieren is the best anime of 2023. I would really appreciate it if you went and watched that video and you decided to hit that like button and the subscribe button. Same with this stream. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because those little actions give me a bit of dopamine. It makes me feel happy, like I'm not just sitting here talking into an empty void because I can. That said, let's I got a couple of indie projects I wanted to cover tonight, so I'm gonna try and cruise through those fairly quickly. The first one being, let me present this. Where is it? I have so many tabs pulled up right now. It isn't funny. It's just a bad idea to put this many tabs on. Oh, there it is, right at the top. So the first one is one that I've actually sort of read. And can I full screen this for now? I'll just go like that so that everything can be seen. Get rid of that shit. Fuck. Okay, so this is The Fog Within, number 1 and 2. As Hunter learns of the fog, the rebels attack the regime in this mysterious future. G.I. Joe meets X-Men in the apocalypse. Okay, pretty basic premise. And having read the first volume, I'd say it's all right. It isn't the most terrible thing I have ever read, but I do think that it lacked a little bit of compelling quality in it. However, it's good enough to where I'd continue reading it, and they're not terribly expensive for an indie comic. Like, you can get a digital copy for $5. Not terrible. The full price of number 2 is $10. And the art, let's see if I can find, because the covers don't live up to the covers don't actually give you a good impression of the art inside the book. So here's what the inside of the books actually look like. Which I do like. I'm not so much of a fan of this. I think that's not really to my taste. Something like this, yeah, I can appreciate that. Something like this, yeah, I do like that. But otherwise, I do like, superhero stuff. I do like post-apocalyptic stuff. Does this present the greatest does this present like the greatest combination of those things? Maybe not, but it's still a fun read. I still enjoyed it. So yeah, that is The Fog Within #1 and 2 over on Kickstarter. And there are 6 days to go on that project. Another new project that I haven't shared yet would be this one that caught my eye, and of course they're going to keep asking me for that. No, I will not give you any of my data, even though you're probably tracking it already. So this is the Casket Girls, and this is steampunk mecha, and I like the art style on it, what they do for artwork and all of that, and I like the designs. See if we can find out a little bit more about we reached another stretch goal, unlocking digital art books. Okay, can you tell us a little bit of the story? So do you love steampunk and mecha battles? Do you enjoy okay. So yeah, this is a illustrated graphic novel, I believe, is what they described as fighting aliens. So okay, The Casket Girl is a steampunk novelette set in the Association of Ishtar universe at an alternate 19th century where anomalies called rifts are opening up all over the world. Most of these are harmless portals to alternate variations of Earth, but some are gateways for alien creatures called word beasts. Whenever the local authorities can't contain these anomalies, penal battalions are sent in to terminate the threat with the help of automatons piloted by the Casket Girls, female convicts fighting for their freedom. See, that right there is like the kind of creativity that like I really do enjoy about the indie sector. So what is let's see. It's gonna tell us so there's the ebook. I got a printable model for sale there. The Casket Girls #1 paperback basics. So it is a novel, but I believe it has a lot of illustrations and stuff. If I can find where that was, like the original page that I saw. I believe this is. That was a page, maybe not. If that's like the kind of interior illustrations we're looking at, I do really like the art style and the way it all looks. Those are the kinds of things I generally look for. Because I can be a bit stickler about the way things look, about the like visual appeal and all of that. But yeah, I wanted to cover the paperback, $17, because that's going to include some shipping and all of that. Oh well. Anyway, we will minimize that for now and move on to the last project I did want to cover because that's not it. Over on fundmycomic.com, this is still running. So Hero Darky Dark is someone who I've talked to, who I've had on the channel for a short interview. He stayed around for an entire episode, very generous with his time on that one. And whose projects I've covered before, because I like the premise of it. The idea of a superhero who's getting bullied by his arch nemesis, who just wants to toy with him. She's not really there to like screw him up or anything, or like actually like conquer the world or all that. She's just taking some sort of sick pleasure in bullying this poor guy. That's pretty much the idea of relentlessly bullied hero. And here you have a chance to get in on the campaign. This is the whole second chance thing. He already funded the Kickstarter. So very reminiscent of like My Hero Academia, which I like, particularly with like the vigilante Deku stuff, which I think needed a little bit more attention in the series. I feel like they cut that way short. And overall just looks like a fun little comic book to read well. The man has a second one on the way already and other projects. So this will be releasing sometime in the future. I believe I don't remember if there were any dates actually stated. However, it's a thing. It's a thing. I like that kind of stuff. It's one that looks good. If I'm pretty sure the videos and stuff are still up on the channel. So if you want to know more about that, or hear it from the mouth of the creator himself, when we talked about that, the interview and the coverage of the book originally are still up on my channel there. Sorry, I have a oh, more and more I keep forgetting that I need an ad blocker for all this shit. Holy fuck, that just jump scared me. Whew, okay. Mini heart attack aside, music just started like randomly coming through when I cleared out some tabs from my list for tonight. And that jump scared me because all of a sudden there was just music. I need an ad blocker. I think now that that's done, it's time to move on into trailers for tonight. And there was really only one that caught my interest. Covered a lot more of them a couple of weeks ago, especially when we went over the whole my dear friend Nokotan thing. That was a night. And then on into news. Moving on to the final topic of the night, which will ultimately be some concerns that people have raised about anime shenanigans. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring up the one and only trailer that I have to check out for tonight. And I haven't watched this. We have Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 Part 2. Look, on the Season 2 Part 2 thing, I don't know how I feel about it from like a content consumption standpoint. Like Yeah, I get it for the animator's sake. It is easier to just break things up instead of having to do it all at once. You probably don't have to stress as much. However, it's a little annoying when you just want to watch an anime and they are breaking it up into two parts. And they did this for the first season, they're doing this for the second season, and well, here we go, because this is probably one of the best isekais you could find out there. Really good fantasy. Oh, is it gonna do this shit? Is it really gonna? All right. I am going to fuss with this a little bit and see if I can't get this to cooperate. Yep. I think my internet's just going to be a POS tonight because Streamlabs sucks. It's unfortunate. I'm not going to put it in a lower quality in order to try and, oh geez, watch this thing, but I will give it at least one more attempt, I guess, to try and go over this, because this is like the one trailer that I was actually interested in that I saw. Then again, I didn't put the same amount of time into trying to find trailers this week, because most of the stuff that's coming out. Yeah, it's just good. I hate Streamlabs sometimes. Yeah, it's just gonna keep freezing up the whole freaking time. All right, you know what? I'm doing away with that, and for now, I'm just gonna move on into one of the other newsy topics instead, because I should sit up a bit, be a little bit more on camera. Straighten my back out so I'm not sitting like a shrimp. Let's move on into small news topics, and we'll get to the big one. The whole reason I'm doing this stream tonight instead of just saying, there wasn't really much to cover. Share. Here we go. So the first item that came across my feed, that came to my attention, was
at Libman. Our family built a
fucking hell. Would the ads not play music or sound for once? So Tokyo Revengers creator to launch new manga. Obviously, anyone who's had as big of a series as Tokyo Revengers, like Ken Wakui, isn't just going to walk away from the scene all of a sudden. Especially considering you probably have a fan base at this point that you can monopolize on. Some people may just do one entry and quit, but we'll get into that and my thoughts on the whole series. So it has been some time since Ken Wakui published any new content, but that will change soon enough. If you do not know, the artist made their last stand with Tokyo Revengers, and the Kodansha series has gone on to become a hit with readers across the globe. See, that there's an interesting thing about that, with this being about as or feeling at least as divisive as the Attack on Titan ending. Because that's for Tokyo Revengers, the ending has been my biggest complaint. And I don't see how anyone can get past the fact that not only is it just straight up rushed, it feels like a total ass pull. But I won't get into a ton of spoilers on that, because if anyone listens to this and is not familiar with Tokyo Revengers and actually likes it, I don't want to ruin your experience per se. Now, a new report suggests Ken Wakui has a new manga on the horizon, and it will take the artist from Kodansha to Shueisha. So he's moved over from Kodansha to, Shonen Jump. Interesting. Because these two have been, competing heavily, very heavily, for the top spot in the manga production, in the manga publishing industry. Recently, Kodansha has moved to try and court English readers by releasing stuff simultaneously, or at least as close to simultaneously, by using the English drafts that they receive for new series. The issue is, though, shonen is very popular, particularly the Shonen Jump brand of shonen. And they've pretty much been neck and neck this whole time. The update comes from a recently released table of contents from Weekly Shonen Jump. It was their fans keyed in on one note about an incoming issue of the magazine. Sorry, I think that English just broke my brain. After this week's issue goes live, Shueisha will put Wakui's new manga in print ASAP. So far, we know little to nothing about the new manga except its title. Wakui is calling his new project Negai no Astro. I'm curious as to what that translates to. When the series launches, it is expected to take over the cover of Weekly Shonen Jump. I would expect so too, because as much as I do not like Tokyo Revengers, I can't deny that it was a very popular series and that it was everywhere during the first season. I blame Draken. On this, so the team at Shueisha is backing Wakui all the way. Okay. This is with this new project on her thumb, Wakui. Okay. The artist brought Tokyo Revengers to life in 2017 and ended it in 2022. Before then, the artist tackled several other series for Kodansha, like Desert Eagle, Abaddon, and Shinjuku Swan. I've never heard of the second two. Motherfuck. But the first one, Desert Eagle, I've actually read all the way through. And I'm starting to think that there's a trend. So I'm just curious here. I'm gonna go do some digging really quick live because I have never heard of some of these other series. So it was Abaddon. Let's see, Abaddon manga. Okay, so we can go over here. I'm curious as to how it rates. How do people feel about this one? Literally not enough people read it. There are 2 volumes to it. So very, very beginner stuff. Interesting. And Shinjuku Swan. I'm curious as to what that is. Did I spell that right? Maybe not. Shinjuku. Okay. Shinjuku Swan manga. There we go. Man, this guy really likes his delinquents. Maybe. Okay, this one's got a 7.2, which is holy shit, 38 volumes. Okay, so this guy's got a track record. Interesting. Wonder what the reviews here have to say. There's just one review. So it's about the nightlife business in Japan. Okay. Burst agency in Kakuchiko, Shinjuku's red light district. In a business where money means everything, Tatsuhiko finds himself in a constant struggle between rival talent scouts and the Yakuza. Okay. So this guy really likes the shadier things of Japanese culture. Fine by me. If that's what you want to write about, that is perfectly fine. I've never really cared much for delinquent stories, though. I don't know. It's just not really what I'm into. So he's making a debut at Shueisha. Yes, we've kind of figured that from all the talk. I know you're just padding out. Are you going to give us any relevant information in here? If you have not read Tokyo Revengers yet, you can always brush up on the series. The anime is out. Honestly, couldn't really care much about the anime either. The whole reason I'm covering this, by the way, is because some of Ken Wakawi's ideas are very good. In concept, I like a lot of his creations. I liked Desert Eagle, and I liked aspects of Tokyo Revengers. Like the idea of Takamichi using his powers to try and save his first love. Great concept, really good foundation for a story. The execution on it, though, wasn't really my thing. Now, I'm not the only one with reservations about this series because there were some other people, and obviously, when I say some other people, generally things get overblown when it comes to reporting on the internet. So it says it sparked mixed reactions among fans, but they only really have one screenshot in this article, and you're going to hear a lot of the stuff that has already been covered in this. But I want to go down to this. So fashion designer Ken Wakawi is back with his new series, and of course, it gets the response. Saw Gege and Hori fumbling their final arcs and decided to join in to show them what a real fumble looks like. Which, look, I gotta kind of laugh at that because I feel that. Okay, this one I thought was funny when I first saw it because, look, you ain't been traumatized until you've read something like Berserk, okay? You ain't been traumatized until you have. Nah, that Tokyo Revengers is not traumatic. It is shonen as fuck. You know, that would actually interest me. That one. Plot twist, it's actually a sequel to Tokyo Revengers taking place in one of the failed timelines. Maybe that's just me. Either way, I'm going to get into a little bit of Tokyo Revengers talk now because I've kind of covered everything in the articles that is relevant. There is the lasting issue of the rushed, like blitzkrieg rushed ending of Tokyo Revengers. And that isn't the first manga that has had that kind of a rushed ending. Desert Eagle was similar. Although I liked Desert Eagle a little bit more because the protagonist wasn't as annoying to me. I had a hard time with Tokyo Revengers because Takamichi was just kind of like an annoying dude who wouldn't grow up or maybe get a little stronger. It felt like he had his whole character arc at the very beginning of the series and then was the same for the rest of it and had like minor hiccups. All the while he acts as a punching bag just so Mikey and Draken can show up and actually do all the ass kicking. And then ass pulls some power ups at the very end so that he can finish off the story. Briefly, my thoughts on Tokyo Revengers. I actually have 2 videos up on my channel. I believe they are. I wanted to like Tokyo Revengers, a review of the anime, and my personal, or it's like my beef with Tokyo Revengers is the review of the manga. Once I finished it, yes, I read the whole thing. I spent money on tankobon volumes in order to read that whole series. So if you're interested in hearing my in-depth thoughts, you can go find those on my channel. I actually do have Tokyo Revengers videos out there. Just keep in mind, though, they are like very, very early on videos, and I hadn't even figured that getting closer to the mic helps reduce echo. That's how bad I was when I first started doing all this shit. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, man, in order to get rid of all this echo and stuff, I gotta pad out my room and do all this and soundproofing, get better equipment, use a proper PC. No, just hold your mic closer to your face. That said, I don't think Tokyo Revengers is terrible up until the ending. I feel like what it needed to do was maybe stop before it got too long. It suffered from dragging itself out. I'm not going to go over that. We're going to go over some other small news items before much more. So, one to do with, or both to do with some very, very relevant series right now. Jujutsu Kaisen and Solo Leveling. I blanked on the name there. So let's go with Solo Leveling. So obviously, if you haven't been aware, I should stop saying obviously so much. I keep noticing my own little verbal tics here. So, yeah. If you haven't heard, Solo Leveling recently just wrapped up its anime adaptation. That's the thing. It was good. I think people oversold it on the story. They really tried to make it some like grand masterpiece when it's just a fun power fantasy with cool action. Solo Leveling is like a John Wick style anime. The story's not so much the reason. It is you want to see Sung Jin-woo fuck some people up. That is why you watch Solo Leveling. So, moving into this, the manhwa is getting in a sequel about the main character's son. So Solo Leveling Ragnarok is going to be a thing. And I won't delve too deeply into this for fear of spoilers. I'm still reading the series. I know there's probably a lot of people who don't want spoilers, who don't want to like look into this and see something that they don't want to see, but this is the thing. The Solo Leveling is a complete series. So if you enjoyed the hell out of the anime and you're really interested to see what comes next, you're probably going to go want to read the actual manhwa. You can buy full volumes, or you can go find it in its individual chapters on the I forget which app it's on. I buy full volumes because I enjoy having physical books when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's just my personal it's just my personal thing. I can actually pull this down so you can see my lovely mug. We'll get rid of that. So yeah, Solo Leveling, I feel like this first season was a good adaptation of the manhwa for what it needed to be. It was action. It's all based on action. It didn't need to be some grand story. People oversold that. It's all just like Sung Jinwoo rolls up on someone, kicks their ass, gets more powerful, rolls up on the next person, kicks their ass, gets more powerful. That is pretty much Solo Leveling, and that's definitively a power fantasy. So if you don't enjoy that stuff, you probably won't enjoy Solo Leveling. However, if you really like high-speed, well-animated action sequences, this one's probably one of the best of the season. I shouldn't say probably. It is one of the best of the season. It's excluding Frierin's animation, I think it's probably the best that came out this season. because Freerun's kind of been running since last year. So it's the best anime that debuted this year when it comes to animation. A lot of qualifiers there, but it's true. That is a fact, 100%. I don't know why I put on the accent. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I'll be doing a little bit of a video here on my channel in a bit. I've kind of slowed down the production of videos because the content grind was just exhausting, especially when I'm working like 10, 11 hours, 6 days a week, every week. These past couple of days, not past couple of days, past couple of weeks. This one hasn't been so bad. We had 2 days where I just worked a normal 8. And then today I kind of had a half day because delivery drivers. Look, I love you. Everyone who like goes out there and does all the shipping and stuff. I respect your job, but come on, sometimes your management screws us over, okay? The people like above you who are sending out all the shipments and stuff, sometimes they screw us over. Which in this case I'm appreciative of because it means I had a shorter, less exhausting week. Other weeks, though, it means more stress, tighter budgets, all that kind of stuff. So that's solo leveling. The other thing I wanted to cover before getting into like the really big topic I want to cover tonight is Jujutsu Kaisen. Because what is a week where Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't show up, right? So the Guinness Book of World Records announces the world's most popular anime. Jujutsu Kaisen breaks Attack on Titan's 3-year streak as the world's most in-demand animated series of 2023. A recent data study reveals. Okay, my internet is going to work. So Jujutsu Kaisen has been officially named 2023's most in-demand anime series based on global viewership and engagement metrics by Guinness World Records. The show barely defeated highly popular contenders Attack on Titan and One Piece. Still impressive in and of itself. And look, I understand why. It just debuted probably the strongest section of its writing. The Shibuya arc is absolutely something else. I just did a review of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 on my channel not too long ago. If you're interested, go check that out. Mainstream internet in anything anime has outgrown its cult appeal in recent years. Yes, this is going to be part of what I'll talk about later. This was recently confirmed when Jujutsu Kaisen, the anime based on Gege Akutami's manga series, took the top spot as the world's most in-demand TV show of 2023. Not just anime, most in-demand TV show, beating frontrunners like Loki, The Last of Us, Black Mirror, and okay. These two, unimpressive. The Witcher really went downhill, I think. That's very interesting. As the overall winner in the TV category, the fact that it is even like being the top anime or top series of like the most anticipated television series in general, not just animated, is impressive in and of itself, regardless of the circumstances. As the overall winner of the TV category, Jujutsu Kaisen was also automatically the most in-demand anime series. However, it only barely fended off close competitors Attack on Titan and One Piece. Parrot Analytics. It can okay. First of all, I'm pretty sure Parrot Analytics is something to question from what I've heard. I'll have to look into that more before I, make that bold claim. But I've heard some things. People don't really trust it. I want to know what their actual metrics are before I go any deeper into that rabbit hole. So Parrot Analytics, a consultancy for global entertainment analytics, revealed the ranking via Guinness World Records following a comprehensive global study. Is this gonna actually show me what they came to? How are we? So Jujutsu Kaisen is officially the world's most in-demand TV show, taking the title from Attack on Titan, which held it since 2020. According to data science from Parrot Analytics, Jujutsu Kaisen has a demand rating of 71.2 times greater than that of the average TV show. Okay, that's actually insane. Parrot Analytics calculates demand based on how much attention, engagement, desire, and viewership is expressed by consumers for content. Their system captures billions of new data points each day, including video consumption, social media engagement, and research actions. So, what that means is streaming and downloads, hashtags, likes, and shares, and reading about a show on IMDb. So, reading articles and stuff about it. Basically, they're talking, and interaction is like literally anything, anytime you like, look at, read about, share information on Jujutsu Kaisen. Okay. Interesting. I wonder how they calculate that though, because there's also been the issue of bot farming and all of that shit. I'm curious how all of that plays in. Anyway, back to what I was reading. Oh, excuse me. The study took into account a slew of data metrics that included daily consumption rates, social media engagement. See, that would actually be, I feel like, a valid metric. The amount of time people actually spent watching the anime, because collectively, that could demonstrate a collective interest. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Social media engagements and provocative research. Look, social media engagements can be faulty because there is a lot of rage baiting and a lot of shit like that that can happen that can drive that number up. You want to know what the best way to get engagement on social media is? Shit talk a popular series, especially with anime. Like, I got into it recently. I made the mistake of saying My Hero Academia had fallen off. What I should have said is I lost interest, or I lost a lot of interest in My Hero Academia after season 4. It was just kind of downhill from there for me. I didn't feel like it was all that exciting to me. That said, I am not the entire populace of the world. My opinion does not make up the vast majority. So overall, Jujutsu Kaisen ranked first with a global demand rating of 71.2 times higher than the average TV show across all subcategories, including anime series. The study notes a surge of interest in Jujutsu Kaisen towards the end of 2023, which was stoked in July when new episodes of Season 2 premiered. On December 29th, demand for the show peaked at 128 times the record average. Okay. One metric confirmed that Jujutsu Kaisen was immensely popular among the younger audience demographic, obviously, because that's generally who's watching anime. People my age or younger or a little bit older. So, yeah, the 13 to 22. Hold on. Gen Z is 13 to 22. That's who counts. Because then technically I fall outside of Gen Z because I'm 24. I thought it was Gen Z. I don't know. Maybe it's just conflicting interest. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Dominated the results with 71.3% viewership. Okay, yeah, based. Similar outcomes were also noted for contenders One Piece and Attack on Titan. 56% and 64%. So I guess this is just talking about the total viewer base. That percent of people watched it. So half of all anime fans watched One Piece. 71% of all, two or three quarters of all anime fans watched Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm assuming that's what that means. Nearly lost. Yeah, Attack on Titan narrowly losing. I guess one of the big issues on that is people were kind of not big fans of the ending at times. I didn't think the ending was so bad, but I was told that I was retarded for thinking that. I thought it was tragic. But I because I didn't think it was nihilistic and awful and the worst thing ever, I was told I was retarded. But yeah, it's very interesting. I didn't know Guinness Book of World Records kept track of that kind of stuff. Shit, there goes my camera. Of course, I slightly nudge, and it has switched over to my integrated camera. I want this camera. There we go. When it comes to numbers like that, I'm a bit of a nerd. Something about having all the numbers and statistics out there helps me like visualize what's actually going on. Yes, I knew Jujutsu Kaisen was immensely popular, but to beat out like Attack on Titan in terms of popularity, that's pretty ridiculous. And to beat out One Piece, which if you ask me, One Piece is probably it is one of the best written manga out there. Not probably, it is one of the best written manga out there. I just can't do the anime. It's way too long for me, way too boring at times. Excuse me, I shouldn't eat candy while I'm live because now, oh, that was a mistake. Excuse me. Feel a little bit better now. Okay. I keep sliding down in my chair because like I'll wiggle a little bit and all of that. I think it's time to move on into like the big thing I wanted to address tonight, and that is the issue of the sustainability of the current anime world, I guess you could say, of the current industry. And there's a couple of points to address on this, some that we already know, some that I've kind of touched on in the past, and some that we're going to get into tonight. We'll start with pulling up this article by over on comicbook.com about how a Wit Studio executive, the president of Wit Studio, thinks that the anime industry might not be able to sustain itself at current levels. Sorry. Oh, is there a trailer out for Mission Yozakura Family? Sick. Maybe I'll have to figure out how to, fix my streaming for videos so I can go over that one. Because I actually like that series. I think it's fun, and it's another video I want to do. I'll save that for when I'm actually going to debut it. Anyway, Wit Studio might have vacated the likes of Attack on Titan and Vinland Saga, but the legendary anime studio found plenty of projects to keep their animators busy. Finding recent success with the likes of Ranking of Kings, Spy Family, the production house is also working on the Suicide Squad Isekai and a One Piece reboot for Netflix that will recreate the story of Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates. It's interesting to me that they are rebooting One Piece, but it gives them a chance to correct my big complaint that there is a lot in there that just feels like padding. But I digress. In a recent interview, Wit's president hinted at the idea that All that glitters isn't gold in the anime industry when it comes to its future. Wada began the interview by stating how WIT goes about creating their anime works. We don't look for studios. We look for projects, and then, depending on the piece, we decide based on how important it is to get out to a wider audience as soon as possible. For example, in Spy Family, the speed of the animation is limited. For that to happen successfully, we need 2 studios. So we think about how to make the anime based on the original work. From there, we would make the decision whether or not it's necessary to partner with other studios to get it out as fast as possible and with as high quality as possible. Okay, so not really talking about the anime industry. In the interview, WIT's president had a foreboding message in regards to the future of anime. I don't think it's possible to keep this pace up. What's really important is that the number of anime fans in the world needs to continue to grow. Once they're able to acquire more anime fans around the world, businesses are going to be willing to put more money towards the creation of anime, which will allow them to continue to create work of such high quality. So, if anything, it depends upon the number of fans increasing. That right there is a very important issue to touch on that I want to take some time to comment on and talk about. So, yes, it's going to require more anime fans, and the sign of a healthy industry is the fact that it's growing more and more. The issue is the fact that these budgets continue to get bigger, and they constantly need more money because the bar is getting set higher and higher. You get your free runs, your Jujutsu Kaisens, your solo levelings that really spice up the animation, focus on making it really high quality. And they sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. They set the bar really high and people start to expect that, okay? The higher the quality, the more demanding it is, and the more people either have to work on it or the more time they have to put into it, the better they need to be at their job or the more staff they need. Either way, 2 of those options, all 3 of those options actually require more money, which requires a bigger fan base even yet. And then as that fan base comes in, they start to see all that stuff. Distraction. Anyway, the issue is in order to court a bigger fan base, you have to appeal to a lot of demands. Eventually, you get to the point where you start watering things down because there's so many demands, you can't meet them all. So in order to do that, suddenly, you're, shortcutting things. You're not actually giving the original fan base what they want. And your product starts to decline. Does this sound familiar? Because it's what happened to the Western entertainment industry. The thing that's happened is that they associated bigger budgets with better movies, which wasn't the case. And these past couple of years have proved it. Godzilla -1, a movie where the director laughed and said he wished he had a budget of $15 million, blew multi-$100 million movie budgets out the fucking water, okay? When you're talking art, it isn't about the money involved. It is about the passion. And there is another issue. With the growing anime fan base, a lot of studios have started to see that it's very, very lucrative because anime is in high demand right now. It has gained a lot of popularity. Thank you, Akira Toriyama, for doing everything that you did. The issue is that they are now trying to pump out as many series as possible. And this leads to working conditions like MAPPA, and I've covered this on my channel before. A lot of retreading ground tonight. MAPPA's conditions are notoriously hellish because they are literally working to meet deadlines right up to that deadline. They are literally like getting things finished hours before it premieres and all that. That was one of the big things that like marred season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen with controversy. The idea that the animators were overworked. Obviously, if you burn out your entire employee base trying to meet the demands of your audience, you're going to hurt yourself. You're overworking yourself, you're overextending, you're trying to do too much. It is kind of what I've experienced here on YouTube to a much, much larger extent. I tried to pump out tons of content to try and grow this channel. Like, oh, this seems to be doing really well. I'm going to like pump out 50 of these videos. I'm going to do one every week. I lost the passion for it. It became a content making machine and it stopped. I stopped feeling like the same passion for it that I had when I first started. I'm just trying to make a good review video and have fun with it. So yes, these studios are going to struggle because they're going to need more assets to try and court a bigger audience. And in order to get those assets, they need to court a bigger audience. So they have to crunch things, they have to shortcut things, or just force ridiculous work. There's also the issue of expectations, but I will get to that in a bit. I want to get back to this article. So we left off with not that. So if anything, it depends upon the number of fans increasing. WADA then made the recommendation that money would need to be placed into growing personnel to keep the level of quality in the anime world high. Putting all of that money towards growing the personnel and the talent pool is what we would do. Like I was saying. And that's about it from him. So yeah, they're worried about not having enough staff in order to keep the anime at such a high level, which is the curse of high expectations. And I'm going to move on into the second article here, because this one comes from last year, and I want to cover this really quick before I go off on another tangent. So, original Gundam creator Anime Boom has peaked and is approaching a dead end. Shares why anime is in decline and why Disney is failing, stating that current conditions are too soft. I'm curious as to what he means by that. I remember, maybe this isn't the article I was thinking of. So, in an interview with Japanese outlet, Tomino stated that the anime boom has peaked, likely beginning its decline in 5 or 6 years. He offers several reasons, but starts by saying that he is happy with the improvement in anime's social status. He can now go to the tax office without being ridiculed for his work, a privilege he didn't always have. So, according to the creator, anime's decline is both natural and the fault of current developments. While the changing times and culture means things always go in and out of fashion, creativity is declining because anime production is too soft. Okay, interesting. Highlights Okay, this definitely isn't the article that I thought it was, but I'm going to go over it because this is funny. Tomino highlights air-conditioned rooms and shifting to the less time-consuming digital animation style as examples of how environments have taken creators away from the essence of their work, adding that this is also part of the reason for Disney's purported creative decline. No, that's a completely different reason. The most important thing for a production producer to do is to give the artist a chance to make the most of his or her race. It is not as simple as spending money to provide a floor in a high-rise building as a workplace. I think it's audacious that office workers who don't know the practicalities of manufacturing can manage creative work. So basically, this guy is just getting high and mighty in this article. This was not the one that I thought it was going to be. So don't be afraid to see the scene. For example, in the case of agriculture, climate, topography, geography, there are all the habits of the land. It is important to have a sense of how to maintain it based on its complex characteristics. So the decline that Tomino speaks about could be in part combated by social media, which has connected many cultures around the globe. Okay. All right. So that wasn't at all the article I was looking for. There was a whole article about from someone along the lines, at least to what I remember, it was along the lines of, oops. Like it's getting not soulless. That's the wrong word. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to move into this. So there are some issues that I see with the way anime has been going recently. Obviously, I'm happy that a hobby that I have enjoyed for the past 5 years is very, very popular. I got into it because of that popularity, okay? It was something I decided to get into because of Akira Toriyama's work. I started with Dragon Ball. And it was good, but it got better from there. I watched Naruto, I watched One Punch Man, all things I enjoyed more than Dragon Ball. And I also watched some things I enjoyed less than Dragon Ball, particularly some really bad isekais. More on that another time. Something that bothers me, though, is pretty much the curse of the mainstream. You see, one of the things that made nerd culture really passionate was that nerds got things that they were very, very passionate about. That is what anime used to be, okay? It used to be focused, the same with all entertainment, all nerd stuff, Star Wars, Star Trek. It was all generated towards a specific fan base, people who liked a specific thing. It was made for them. It wasn't made for everyone. The issue is, in order for a series to grow, in order for a series to continue to thrive, it needs to constantly feed on normies. It needs to constantly suck in more and more normies to it. And in order to do that, sometimes it has to make changes that may or may sometimes it has to make changes that may or may not be detrimental to, or not detrimental, unacceptable to the original fan base. Sometimes companies will shift their idea of who their fan base is entirely, like Disney is, like Rooster Teeth did. And that will cost them their fan base, and it will severely hurt them. So trying to strike that balance of continuing to suck in a new generation of normies to make them parts of the fan base, while also maintaining that existing fan base, that is the issue. At some point, though, you hit critical mass. You hit the point at which the quality starts to decline in order to just continue to grow. It becomes generic. And then it starts to suck. I mean, you saw that with the MCU, and it became kind of repetitive. It became a meme about how everything goes in the MCU. And then eventually the series started to suck. There's also stay on track, Crimson, stay on track. Will anime go into decline? Probably, because normies will move on to something else. anime will probably be going back to being more niche at some point in the future. I can't say when. I won't try to say when. The issue is that the fact that it became so freaking popular here in the West has driven a lot of attention to it. And that has driven a lot of money to it, as many brands, many studios, many services now want that product. And the more in demand it is, the more the supply increases. And the more the supply of anime increases, the more the workload on the animators becomes, which means they need more animators in order to do this shit, which means they need more money. A never-ending loop. That is just the nature of the world. That is just how all this stuff works. The issue with things going mainstream is it then courts an audience of people who aren't as into it. They just kind of see it as a fad. And when you start trying to cater more to the audience, you water down your product. And when you water down your product, eventually people stop caring about it. Or you focus on the wrong thing entirely, and suddenly your whole product, your theory's fan base is gone. There's the money issue. Then there is obviously the mainstream issue where everything becomes less special, everything becomes more mass produced to fit more demand, to capitalize on things. That is the business aspect. To make more money, there is more demand. And then obviously there is the human intervention issue, which we get to the localizers. With Japan being such a popular output of entertainment content, it's drawn the focus of people who want to control entertainment and make it into their own political tool. I mean, this is pretty much what's been happening in the West. Is whenever something becomes popular, all of a sudden it then becomes the epicenter for a culture battle, which is, it was movies, which was done slowly, and people got sick of it, and then gaming became the single biggest source of entertainment. And all of a sudden we had Gamergate, and everyone freaked the fuck out. That was a whole thing, and the ideology was rejected. And well, now we're in the throes of yet another, culture battle, driven by the same forces that drove the first Gamergate. There are people out there who would seek to sabotage this for their own political ends. Localizers. In this case, it would be the localizers. Not all of them, but some of them do have an ideological bend. I mean, the Dragon Maid dub, yes, guess what? I'm bringing up the Dragon Maid dub even 10 years after it was done. You want to know why? Because it was never apologized for. Because it was doubled down on. And because the person who did it played victim for trying to take someone else's work and use it for their own ideological means. That's also going to do damage to anime. I need to stop fidgeting. I'm sorry. The localization issue will continue to be another part of, the inevitable decline, or the possible decline of anime. Because if these people are allowed to have their way with, the pressure of Western money, which these studios need, we could see a decline in quality. And then as less people are interested in anime because the localizers are convincing Japanese animators that they need to do things a certain way in order to court the Western audience, there will be less money going into the studios. And they'll have to cut back on quality or quantity, which will mean less anime / lower quality anime. there are a lot of forces that drive this whole thing, and trying to wrap your head around it all in one sitting, trying to get all the fine details, understand everything absolutely. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while, something I've been kind of watching. And going mainstream in and of itself isn't bad, but I preferred it when my entertainment, my hobby, wasn't some cultural battleground where everyone was talking about whether characters were sexualized or whether fan service was bad or anime was for not people who aren't nice to kids. I preferred it when it was just some niche thing that didn't matter to culture. Or at least when it was less important to culture back when I got into it. I should correct that statement and say it was probably healthier when it was less relevant to culture because it was not something that was seen as a way to leverage politics into people's faces. I.e., what I just quoted, anime, like lolicons are. Anime is for people who are bad to kids. Anime is too fan servicey. It's sexist, racist, homophobic, all of that kind of stuff. I've seen it all. We've heard it all. People making corrections to push their own ideology. The issue of going mainstream. You attract people who don't have the whole thing's best interest in mind. Tourists. They see it as popular. They want to get in on it, and they start demanding changes. Of course, because a lot of these media managers are on the side of the tourists rather than on the side of the fans. They'll listen to the tourists. They'll try to make those changes. They'll drive away fans who actually spend money on it, and they'll hurt the studios overall. Starting to see the picture here. Starting to understand. So yes, the studios feel they need more money. So they will do what they think they need to, listening to localizers to try and court the Western audience, who has become the biggest, the lion's share of their profits. And when they do that, they'll start to lose what makes anime so special to all of us fans, the things we like about it. And those people will start to drop off because they'll see a lot of the mainstream stuff change. They won't see all of like the niche stuff, the lower quality, not the lower quality, but the less popular things, the hidden gems. They won't see that stuff, and they'll be like, all right, well, it's time to move on from this. And when they abandon the whole thing, that's a lot of money that's gone. It will probably lead to a decline in quality and a decline in quantity, which I don't see the decline in quantity being so bad because there are tons of anime that come out every season, every year. If it was a drop in quantity to focus on the quality of anime, fine. The issue is, though, things tend to trend towards more product at a lower quality because you're looking for sales engagements, all that kind of stuff, which will hurt this whole thing again. I'm going in loops here, but it all comes back to the same thing. The idea of localizers, the idea of the need for money, and the work crunch on animators. They will burn themselves out trying to keep up with the demand. They will not have the funds in order to hire more staff to meet those demands, or they will just burn their audience out with overproduction. All possible ways for this to go, in all things that can hurt the overall experience of, this hobby, this fandom. Do I think any of that will happen? I'm not bold enough to make those predictions, to say that those things are actually going to happen in real life. Everything I've said up to this point is pretty much just conjecture, me thinking out loud, pretty much. Running through the process of what I've seen. I have not seen signs of anime giving in, or of like anime really like going the way of Western media, where it becomes a politics thing. I think what's more likely to become a huge issue is the work crunch that these studios put their employees through. I mean, Mappa, I look, I've talked about Mappa quite a bit, and the way they kind of forced employees to sign NDAs in order to keep the conditions of their job a secret, to not have all of the negative rumors about their poor work conditions spreading. That isn't exactly uncommon in the industry, from what I've seen. Apparently, animation is pretty demanding, especially as these studios pick up more and more projects to try and keep going, because they need more money in order to hire more staff. So they need their current staff to do more work so they can hire more staff. So if I'll stop. It's an interesting subject to me. One that, like I said, has been on the back burner of my mind for a while. If it loses the whole artistic soul of it, which I can see the point made by Tomino, that it loses the artistic soul of it, it loses the whole point of art. If it becomes a mass-produced product, one that requires a lot of people to meet quotas that over exceed the demand, who knows how it's going to go? Let me try and close this stuff out. I'll leave that there. So to kind of like kind of like sum up a long, rambling, like, I guess kind of annoying rant into one last fine little thing. The issues are there. You can see them. Studios complain about not having the money to hire new staff. Staff complain about bad work conditions and having to work harder. And there's the issue. There's one more. Of course, I went to move something and I bumped the freaking camera. Lottie freaking da. There we go. So those are like the three industry issues. The idea that there won't be enough money to hire new staff. The idea that going mainstream could ultimately hurt this because it would become too big to sustain. And the idea that staff are overworked and need better working conditions soon, or it just will all implode on itself. I'm pretty sure that's what happened in Madhouse. Another issue that I see becoming a sort of problem. Why does this happen? I completely lost where I was going with this. I got derailed now. Fuck. Another, what was I gonna? Quite an awkward spot for me to. The bar being set too high. The bar being set way too high. That's what I was going to go into. When you set the bar way too high on some of these things, this is another thing that could be a issue. When production values start to get up there, obviously higher production value means more work for the animators. And the more and more that bar gets raised and the more people expect out of a series in order to enjoy it, the harder it is to sell something. So when people expect more, requires more work from the animators, which the studio needs more money to hire more people to do the animation. so that they're not overworking everything. But in order to do that, they have to meet the demand. So it's this constant self-feeding loop. If they can't get enough people interested because they don't have the production quality, they can't reach that production quality. So is stuff that like absolutely looks amazing, like Freerin or solo leveling, when it comes to action, are these like absolutely spectacular, high end, fit and finish kind of anime? Are they going to be the bane of the current industry? Is it going to be the death of the industry when it keeps trying to reach that bar and set it higher and go faster? Because that is art. It is people constantly trying to top the next. It is what kills music genres. I mean, I think, look, history, a little bit of history of music here. You know, you start off with a genre. I forget exactly how it goes, but I think it was blues, and it became more and more and more complicated until it just kind of was less. It became more and more and more complicated until it dropped in popularity. And then that's when rock came out. And rock was simple. It was supposed to be music that you could, dance to and all that, much like blues was in the original, much like its predecessor was in the original. And that's just how music genres go. Rock then became metal. Metal then branched off into a bunch of other things like metalcore, hard metal, all that kind of stuff. You get all these different genres that like want to break away from the overcomplication. The point is the constantly trying to one up in like the competition of artistry of people trying to be better artists, to set that bar yet another rung higher, drives up expectations way too much. And as people kind of like try to compete more and more, it's a lot of work. And we're right back to where we started. More work means more money is needed for more staff. And in order to get more money, you need to court a bigger audience. You constantly need an inflow of normies. And in order to do that, you have to pick something that will appeal to broad audiences. And most of the time, that just doesn't exist. So they'll create something generic and just throw it out there rather than trying to create something that's truly great. Abandoning the art form in order to reach a product that they think will reach the audiences, when in fact the audience just wanted the art form. Ultimately, that's probably going to be the thing that drives us back into a more niche hobby. The idea that chasing the audience, chasing growth, chasing money will kill the soul of the whole production. It will kill the soul of the art form. As chasing specific audiences has here in the West. The decline of Star Wars, the decline of Star Trek, the decline of Marvel and DC, the lack of popularity of all those things. It can happen to anime too. That's what I'm saying. And this time, it probably won't be due to ideological reasons. It will entirely be due to industry reasons. Not in like the idea that there are things happening inside the industry. No, like the concept of industry, of trying to produce. It'll be production issues. But I'm not an economist. I don't understand these things probably half as much as some other people. And this is a subject that getting into now, I feel might need a little bit more of my research. However, I think that is going to have to be it for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed this. To everyone who stopped in, gave me a little bit of their time to hear what I had to say. I hope you all have a good night. Please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I appreciate that. I really do. And I will hopefully reorganize my thoughts here in the near future and kind of address this subject a little bit better than I did tonight. Because doing this live off the top of my head, I understand it probably hasn't been the best rant or whatever that I've been on. Probably hasn't been the most straightforward one, but it's all information that I'm kind of just like voicing now, opinions and stuff that I'm just talking about now. Thoughts, ideas, all of that came to mind just now. But like I said, I'll probably have to organize my thoughts, script out a video, put all of that stuff together more logically than what I did tonight. That said, to anyone who tuned in and decided to even give me a little bit of their time, thank you. I appreciate it. Love you. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this. And have a good one. Have a great night.